I see this a lot, and I've never quite understood the concept of needing to see someone that looks like you in some sort of position in order to feel like you can enjoy something. Like how an author has to have your skin tone, or how a director has to have your genitals, or whatever. I don't get that concept. I never have. I don't think I ever will. Oh, but Math, you're a white guy, so of course you wouldn't get it because that's all you see is other white guys. I have never in my life looked at something and thought, oh hey, that looks like me. I feel like I'm in this. Short of, say, the orcs from the WoW movie. I do not get this concept and constant need to feel like you are in it. Maybe I have the ability to separate fiction from reality, and I know when something is fiction, and somehow that is something that's being lost. I don't know. But whatever the reason, it is incredibly annoying and needs to stop, because I keep seeing articles like this from Mike.com, and it just blows me away that this exists. Not only does it exist, but it's wrong on just a base mathematic level. That makes me laugh because they can't fucking count. Did no one proofread this and then actually look up statistics and go, I think we may have goofed. I'm going to have a link down to this, but let me just give you some highlights from it. They say that Marvel is not diverse enough. The exact title of this article is 10 years in, the Marvel Cinematic Universe still lacks diversity, and these four graphs prove it. I'm going to emphasize the prove it part. They lack diversity, and these graphs prove it. That is very key to this, because it's actually the exact opposite effect. Now, what they did for actors is, this is both actor and actress, they took all the people that were the top billings for Marvel movies. The big name stars that actually were on like the posters or what have you nots. And they broke them down by ethnicity. And they realized and came up with there were 69 people in total. Giggity. And 45 of those were white, and 24 were of some minority, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. So they actually broke that down into a nice little percentage for me to make it just that much easier. 34.8% of the people that have gotten top billing in Marvel movies, and this isn't repeating, they are doing individual people, which again really makes this nice to point out. 34.8% of people that have gotten top billings in Marvel movies are minorities. Now, that's not a 50-50 breakdown, and that they're trying to make it sound like that's why it's bad, but when I saw that number, I realized something. I was like, hey, wait a second, that number seems very familiar here. Let me look up the census from America. And yes, I'm using the American census because these are movies that are based on comics for a predominantly American audience, and the movies themselves are made in America for a predominantly American audience. Now, the demographic breakdown of America, it's kind of fuzzy. It depends on how you define white, because there's two different groupings for that. There's white in general, which is 77.4%, and non-Hispanic white, which is 61.8%. And non-Hispanic white means anyone living in America that is white, that didn't come from a Hispanic or Latino country. Like, you could be white, white as chalk, but you were born in Brazil, so you are Hispanic. That idea. So, depending on how you define it, if you define white as non-Hispanic white, it's actually exactly proportional. Maybe one more actor is all that's needed, but that's it. There's 4% missing. That's all. That, by any stretch of statistical data, is within acceptable parameters. However, if you do any white in general, then it's an overrepresentation by about 10%. There's not enough diversity. These graphs prove it. They proved the exact fucking opposite, you idiots. That they are proportionally being represented accurately. I don't know why I need to explain this to people. Is counting hard? Is that what this comes down to? Is adding numbers together some sort of weird voodoo magic that I'm doing right now? It's unfucking-believable. That they go on further that women are highly underrepresented in Marvel movies. That women of color only make up 11.6%. Which, again, if you go by white in general, that is what it should be. That is proportional. If your definition of white is you are white, ergo, you're just white. They ignore the Hispanic origins part. Then the breakdown of women in color in Marvel movies is accurate to what it should be as a U.S. representation. I can't believe I'm having to explain this to people. There's actually a little part in that one that amused me. They complained that the girl that played T'Challa's younger sister didn't get top billing, even though they said that this was her breakout role. You do realize that the purpose of top billing is people who have already been established, who are already names that people will know and will go to a movie to see them, right? If this is your breakout role, then you got famous from this. So you will be a top billing later. You do not get top billing for being nobody and getting famous from a movie. English and math. Two things that journalists don't seem to understand. And then they go further on into, oh, well, there's not enough people of color and there's not enough women directing these movies. I've never considered a director as far as a movie is concerned. There's a couple of directors whose works I generally like, but that's not a universal, I must see this movie because so-and-so directed. The director is such an afterthought for most people. The only reason you're putting this here is because this is the one demographic breakdown that is unproportional, that you can use. And that doesn't matter. Does someone's skin tone dictate their directing ability? Does what their junk is between their legs dictate how well they're able to work the cast? I don't get how that matters at all in any respect, especially because you don't see these people. The actors and actresses I can somewhat understand. I don't agree with it, but I get where they're coming from at least. The directors, you never fucking see them. Why does that matter at all? And it gets so fucking annoying too, because I see this all the time. This has been made a giant spectacle. First female director of blank. First female writer of blank. Like that matters at all. And then it's always overblown for whatever it is. Like how with Star Trek Discovery, the big thing we saw advertised from that was first female and black star of a Star Trek series, which a lot of people went back and were like, hey, you got that wrong on both accounts. I, just before this, saw a lot of articles that had headlines, first female director for Star Trek, because the new Star Trek 4 movie in this Abrams universe, it just got announced and it's a woman, because that's a big deal. Stop the presses. A woman did a thing. Stop the presses. A man did a thing. It doesn't matter. Back on the tangent, though. It was a big deal that they were announcing it. Oh, this is the first female director for Star Trek ever. And people quickly point out, the series have had a lot of female directors over the years. There were a couple of articles that actually had the correct title, first female director for a Star Trek movie. But the vast majority that I saw were first female director, period. You would think, after the gigantic blunder that was Discovery and that marketing, that they would have not done that again. They never learn. I will never understand this need to see someone that looks even remotely like you in any kind of position. I watch, I listen, I play to stuff, and I just look at it as it is. I don't look at it as, oh, hey, there aren't enough brown people in this for me to enjoy it. I don't get how people can live like that. What kind of pleasure you can get out of life if you're scrutinizing every last detail about ethnic breakdowns. Just enjoy something for what it is. The majority of Black Panther's cast was black, and that didn't stop me from liking it. But apparently I should have not, because, there weren't enough white people for me. You see how stupid that sounds? Anyway, this has been Math Machine just ranting about how Mike.com can't count. I'm gonna remember that for a long time. Peace out.